My married friend. How is married life now?
Married life is fine. Married life is fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's going well.
Yeah, enjoying good food though, because I know your wife can cook very well. Yeah, enjoying.
Well, it's one of the perks.
Yeah. You know that every time I give someone my number and they call, it's your name that comes up.
Ah, like really? Why?
You know why now?
Ah,
Honestly. So I always have to explain that, oh yeah, this person is my friend, and when I came to the US, I couldn't get SIM card, so we had a family plan, and
yeah,
most of the
but
time,
that
have to
should
have
have
corrected
changed
this.
by now. Now, yeah, it
Yeah,
should have.
I don't know what's happening, but it's all good. I mean, it's one of those things. We're enjoying the perks. I always have to explain myself, so I always have to tell them how I
That's,
came into Florida and things.
that's
Yeah,
so weird in a funny way.
yeah, it's very funny ways. I have to always people like, oh, you're not the person that is here. Ladies and gentlemen, I have Mohammed Kuranga on today's episode. Is I call him Kuranga because Mohammed is a very common name. Kuranga is very very different, and we have our dad, our friends that mistakes both of us. I don't know why he keeps calling me Kuranga, but my name is not Kuranga. So it's always fun when they say, hey, Kuranga on call, like, where's Kuranga? I'm like, I'm fine, but Kuranga is in his house. It's
I
always
even,
fun.
I even, I even have his message. I need to reply now.
Anyways,
But yeah.
today's episode will be about how test software testing is crucial to a functioning tech product, and Mohammed or Kuranga would put us through it, even though he's officially not a software test engineer right now, but he has vast experience, and he also coordinates and oversee a lot of test engineers. So I would stop at this point. I will let him make let him introduce himself to us and give us a journey so far.
Uh, so yeah, as Shion has said, I'm Mohammed Kuranga. Most times I introduce myself as Mohammed, or everyone ends up calling me Kuranga because there are too many Mohammeds. And right now I'm actually like a product manager at a fintech company. But over the years, now we have to go through the journey of life.
Yes.
So I started out as a software tester. I did a lot of manual testing at the beginning, also did some automation testing later on, then also went on to be a business analyst and now uh, doing product owner, product management at the fintech company. So that's kind of the journey so far. Yeah.
So segueing into that journey so far, what were the educational what were the or what is your educational background to get to this point?
Yeah, so I went to school, I studied computer science. I didn't like a lot of programming. So
Mm,
I mean the computer science course was very difficult, but I made it through. I graduated.
mm,
Then I didn't think I was going to be a developer. So I went for like a master's MBA, and
mhm,
then also while still considering that okay maybe I can still be in tech, I decided to also do a computer information systems.
mhm.
I didn't want to leave tech like that, so yeah, that was kind of that's my educational background. Of course, now also there's a lot of certifications for like uh, PMP and also being agile, all these Scrum certifications. So yeah, that's kind of my educational background.
So what would test a software test engineer need to know to learn to be one?
Uh, well, I mean, I think one thing that actually made me interested in testing all along was there was, I think, um, am I able to mention people's name?
Yes, yes, you can.
So there was this lecturer, I think was it Kim Kena or something. I can't pronounce it. I can't remember the name exactly, but some of our FIT people in computer science would know his name.
Mm,
So he had this software testing class. There was a software testing one, then software testing two. Software testing one was more basic and teaching you about like general stuff about software testing. Then the software testing two was the one that went into like the um, creating like test scenarios, test scripts, and all those kind of stuff. So that those classes actually I only did the one. I didn't do the two. Those classes got me like interested, and I
mm,
think generally to be a software test engineer, I think your general software engineering degree or your computer science degree would be enough. But
mm.
then what we always also find out after school is that at the end of the day, it's the skills.
Yes.
So it's the development skills. So I think for software, at least for my own, I did a lot of manual testing before I later did some automation,
Yes.
which, but most of the automation was mainly using Selenium. I did a lot of my programming in Java, so Selenium supports Java, so that was what I used in creating my test scripts.
Okay. So I think we'll eventually talk about the tools that you use this today. But
Okay.
I would say software testing is one sector or one branch of software engineering that I'm not familiar with at all. I remember doing interviews, job interviews, and I had to do some scripting and some API scripting and some API programming.
Mm-hmm.
I could run those things, I could make those things work, but part of the question was I should test. And I didn't know, like I just didn't know, I had no idea how that works. And I tried studying for it, but it was just not clicking. So tell me how tell me how software testing contributes to tech products.
So I think software testing is like very important. It's probably the, of course, the developers have to actually code the actual software, but then it's a very important step. It's like almost like the last step,
Mm-hmm.
even though it shouldn't be the last step, it should be a continuous process. Like you should be testing, not necessarily testing, but you should be testers should be involved in the process of the development of the requirements
So
to make
CI/CD.
so CI/CD, that's more continuous integration and continuous what's the
Development.
D development.
Yes.
Uh Probably, but I think what I'm trying to say is, you know, okay, going through the software development lifecycle, you have like your requirement stage, then
Yes.
before the development, then the testing.
Mm-hmm.
But even at the point of the requirements, testers should be able to review those requirements so that at that point they can point out anything that isn't maybe business rules that wouldn't work or things like that. It's always cheaper to like pick out the defects or things that wouldn't work earlier
Earlier.
in the
Yeah.
stage of the development rather than waiting till later. I guess the main purpose is that is always verification, ensuring that the software is actually doing what it is expected to do. So the quality of the system to identify defects or reduce flaws and maybe increase the overall quality of the system and
Mm.
improve the experience of the end user.
Yeah. Right. So speaking of testing, gathering requirements, and ensuring that it meets, some certain standards. How do you manage situations where the testing, what's it called now, testing pointers, or what you're going to be testing against, are not possible. Like you know that there'll be a lot of bottlenecks in this particular route.
Yeah,
How do you portray? How do you convey that message to the product owners or the software engineers?
yeah. So I think it's also a lot of it has to do with a lot of collaboration. Um, Number one, working with the product owners, you get a better understanding of what the end goal is, what's the purpose of actually this functionality you guys are creating.
Mm-hmm.
Then also communicating with the developers as well, they would be able to tell you, okay, what are some specific things they think or some difficult areas they think you should test. And of course, whether it's manual testing or automated testing, um, sometimes manual is okay, you actually using your system, going through each of the
Steps.
test
Yes.
scenarios, test
Yes.
cases. But then sometimes also maybe you don't have the capability, maybe you don't have the technical know-how. So sometimes the developer will also help you in maybe testing some of those things, or even maybe you do something on the front end and maybe they would be the ones to check it on the back end, things like
Mm.
that. And
Mm.
of course, we also know developers also do their own testing. At at least once they do the development, they do their own smoke testing, sanity testing to make sure, okay, what they did passes the basic uh, functionality. Yeah.
Mm.
So and then something about testing also is you can never get to have a 100% test coverage. It's impossible. There's no software that has like that, as you can cover a lot of the tests scenarios. Maybe have your traceability matrix, which makes sure that okay, you've tested out every requirement.
Mm.
But truly, you can never have like 100% testing. So it's software. Self software is never complete, as we know. So it's always continuous improvement.
Mm. That is I just had an epiphany now because I know I did verification and validation as part of my classes in my grad school, systems engineering. So you talking about traceability, house of quality, um, yes, requirement gathering. I think I kind of understand what you're saying now. I understand what testing, software testing is, but it's just how to the mechanism to put in place. That's where I am lacking. So on a typical day, what does a software a software test person or software test engineer would have to have?
So like what the typical day looks like.
Yes, what a typical day looks like.
So I mean, of course, we all go through the this day age of Scrum. You have your daily stand up.
Mm.
From there, you okay. So depending on the stage where you guys are, if it is maybe still at the development of the requirements, you probably have uh, a session with the product owner, the business analyst, going through the requirements, trying to understand what the feature is. If it is later on in the stage, well, I guess after understanding the requirements, you go on to now create your test cases.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's manual testing, you create your test cases. If it is
Automated testing.
automated testing, you from those test cases, you automate those test scenarios that you've created.
Mm.
And then, of course, if now the development has been completed, then you go on to actually execute those test cases or test scenarios. So that's kind of the typical day. Then, of course, the annoying part or the funny part is there are days when maybe the environment is down, maybe some of the DevOps people messed something up and your environment that you need to do the testing is actually not available. That's always irritating. So but yeah, you go through the review, you go through creating your test cases, test scenarios,
Mm.
and then the actual execution of those test cases, test scenarios. In your execution, if everything goes fine, of course, you pass the test case. If
Mm.
it doesn't, maybe there's a defect, you create a defect, or you even work with the engineers to do some of the testing if you need help in getting through anything, particularly. So
Mm.
if in a scenario where maybe there's a defect, you create a defect, you send that story, you send it back to the developer. The developer works with you to fix whatever the issue is or understand the issue. And once the issue has been fixed, they put it back in maybe they release it back into the environment
Mm.
where you do your testing. And then once you do your testing, anyways, it's basically rinse and repeat.
All the way.
Yeah, all the way till you have a working software where you then,
Satisfaction.
yeah, then you sign off, and then during your release, depending on how the timing that you guys operate with, you release it into production. And of course, you can still find something in production, which is usually the bad part. So,
Um, so what are the tools that I know you mentioned some of them already, but what are the tools that you use day to day that makes you function properly?
it varies by industry and company.
Mm-hmm.
So I think while I was still in the healthcare insurance, um, for automation, it's Selenium that we use. You use that to write your script and run your test scripts.
Mm-hmm.
There was also, if it's like, let's say, if it's like performance testing you're doing,
Yeah.
there's JMeter.
Mm-hmm.
We use JMeter. That one you use it to test like the load on that application, like
Mm-hmm.
how many people are pinging it and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's also Blaze Meter, Load Runner. Those do the same thing. They're kind of performance testing.
Mm-hmm.
In regards to like APIs, we use like Postman. So Postman, you're able to ping those API, make API calls, post and rest, and all those posts and all those API calls basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I think another one for like API was like what's it called? Soap UI. Soap UI is another software we used to use. Then if you're doing like let's say maybe it's a web testing that you're doing, maybe manual, and you need to run it on various browsers. So maybe it's Chrome compatible, you want to check it on Safari, you want to check it on Mozilla, you use I think it's what's the name of it again? I think it's browser stack. I think it's browser stack. So that
Mm.
one helps you to run the application on various browsers.
Mm.
Then of course, there's also Q-test. Q-test, you use that to like create your test scenario, your test cases. That's kind of where you create all the steps, then you either pass it or you fail it, create defects. Then of
Mm.
course the usual Jira and ALM as well. You use that for general management of the software development lifecycle.
Oh, that makes sense. So all these tools, are there places where you can learn them, or do you need certifications to be able to be proficient in them?
Uh so funny story. I think this one got cut off in my last discussion.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of these softwares I learned ALM at that time. I think back in 2017, that was the one that was still prominent. It was probably when Jira was still coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So ALM, I learned it at my the staffing company where I did training. They kind of taught us ALM. Then Jira, I learned that through my company. even though I had said I had Jira experience, blah blah blah, I learned you how to use Jira there. Then, of course, a lot of it, I think I picked it up at the
Yeah.
company because
Yeah.
you see how that training period
Yeah.
where things are different from different companies, so you can always say, "Oh, this is what we used to use where I was,"
Mm-hmm.
but you can learn the new stuff at the company. So I think I picked up most of it at my first company.
Mm.
Yeah, but I think there are certifications where if the if the person teaching you is good, they probably have some of those softwares. Maybe they use it in their company, even though they are not meant to. They can show you, demo it to you to give you an idea of what it looks like. But then a lot of them are also available online uh, for free or free trial kind of thing, where you
Mm.
can download them and try them out.
Okay. So my next question is, what are the questions that will be answered by a candidate seeking a job in this role that will convince you to say the person is proficient enough to take up the role?
Uh, there's 1,000 questions, so that's probably I think on a high level way, you can probably if it's like automation testing now, you can ask them questions on maybe like things like Selenium, some of the particular there are some tricky steps or things that just have workarounds that you can ask them on. So
Mm.
like, okay, how do you, man, it's been a while. I can't give you specific examples. But like, yeah, you can. So there are things, questions like that. But in like manual testing scenario, some basic questions that will even weed out the true truly experienced person from the pretender. So
Mm.
you can ask them, okay, in white box text testing, what do you verify?
Mm.
Things like that. Like what's the difference between static and dynamic testing? Like what are verifications and what are validations, or what are the
Yes.
difference?
Mm.
Then also what are some different type of testing? So like integration testing, smoke testing, sanity testing, what is regression testing? At what point do you decide to automate your testing, like
Mm.
rather than doing manual
Manually.
testing?
Mm.
Yeah, what are some things that will show you that okay, you can automate this type of test? Maybe if the things you're testing are the same thing that are repetitive, then you can always automate those to save you time. But if things change continuously, then it's probably best to at least test them manually at that time. So there are various questions, but yeah.
Yeah, but so you've mentioned a lot of questions, but
Mhm.
which question will take you aback and say this person knows his onions, this person is really good? At least there'll be one question that gives you.
Hmm. Well, you can, I think something at times too is like something like a scenario question where you give them, okay, give them like a scenario that, okay, I have, let me even go very basic. So I have a software that is like a calculator now. How would you walk me through your steps for testing it from creating your test cases to actually executing them? What are some of the things that you will use? Like, what are some of the test cases or particular pain points that you would make sure you're testing? So I would probably, me personally, I'll probably prefer all those scenario questions where I tell you to walk me through some of your testing, your thinking on how to test and things like that.
Sounds like it's similar to what software engineering job interviews would look like. Because I spoke with Martins, who's a software engineer, who's our friend, and he says the same thing, that asking questions and seeing how the candidates follows through with more questions, clarifying questions, and seeing how they are how they are able to go through that problem and finding solution, the journey to finding solution. So there's a lot of similarities. So
Absolutely.
yes, my final question is, explain your or what you do to a 7-year-old. So explain software testing to a 7-year-old.
Okay. So let's see. I will probably say to a 7-year-old, if now at night, let's say tonight now, let's say this 7-year-old now is my son or my daughter or whatever. Tomorrow morning you have to go to school, but before you go to school, you always want to eat pancakes and eggs, for example.
Right.
Okay. For me to make sure that, I think 3 steps. One is, you came to me this night and you said, "Oh, mommy, I want to eat," or "Oh, daddy, I want to eat pancake in the morning before going to school." So I, as your guardian, your parent, I will have to note that down, or at least, if not even noting it down, I will put it so I can remember that, okay, well, in the morning, John wants to eat pancake. So when I wake up in the morning, after going through our normal daily routine, when I make that pancake, I make it the way you like it. So maybe you like blueberries, or you don't like blueberries, or you don't like it to be sweet. When I'm making it, after making it, I have to taste it. That tasting is me making sure it tastes the way
You like
it. So that tasting is basically me making sure, verifying, testing that the pancake meets what you like, which is your requirement or your demand.
But
So
7-year-old doesn't know the meaning of requirements now.
yeah, so meet well, I mean, not requirement, but like meet what the 7-year-old wants.
Oh, okay.
So that is what they want. That is the taste they like, or the type of pancake they like. So me tasting it in the morning, or me tasting it after making it, is me ensuring that you eat it, ensuring that you like it, and then you eat it, and it wouldn't send you to the toilet or anything.
That's funny. Okay.
So I think, yeah, that's kind of it. I think I was trying to put in all the steps from, like, managing the tickets. That is me noting it down the day before. And then in the morning, the actual cooking is the development. Then the tasting is the verification to make sure it meets the 7-year-old standard.
Yeah. All right. This was a good conversation. Even though now I have a good understanding of how software testing works. I appreciate your time. You've done good justice to a very tough topic, because I don't think I would have been able to be able to explain what software testing is. But now I think I'm comfortable with that, and I'm sure someone out there would appreciate what you said today. So how is our Tesla going now? How is our Tesla doing?
Oh, Tesla is doing fine. It's fine. It's
Do
fine.
you have a name for it yet?
Oh, it's Tessie. I stole
Tessie.
the name. I stole the name from Raya.
Tessie. Okay,
Yeah,
no problem.
Tessie the Tesla.
Tessie the Tesla. Okay. Anyways, thank you for
Absolutely, you're welcome. Thanks for having me, and I'm always open to do more in the
yes,
future.
yes. So if in case we have follow-up questions from people who are interested in this particular topic, I would.
We probably need a. Of course, the topic is really nice. Tech and stuff is good. We also need a soccer podcast.
It's coming up. So we're working on it. So have you bought your ticket
Ticket to.
the UK to go and watch the Arsenal win the league?
Why are you putting me on posts on casts like this? Yeah, absolutely. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling positive. My plan is that if by February 15th at the earliest, latest by early March, if Arsenal is still top by at least a few points,
Mm,
I'm gonna buy my match tickets.
mm,
That way, then I'll start planning towards going. The Our last game of the season is Wolves is versus Wolves at the Emirates on May 27th. So
mm,
yeah, I plan on going for it. Hopefully, if we win the title, of course, it's still we need to strengthen absolutely.
mm.
But yeah,
Well, congrats on winning the league. Congrats.
We haven't won it yet.
The super team, we cannot compete. We cannot
February
compete.
February 15th is when we play Man City. So
Mm,
if after that game we're still top by a few more points, then
mm,
it will feel like we can win it because most of our tough games are coming up. We've played Newcastle, we'll play you guys at the Emirates,
mm-hmm.
play Tottenham at their shit stadium. Then I think we have City. Then yeah.
Mm.
So
So today we are recording today, January 8th. So by the time
okay.
this podcast out, we'll see. Maybe it's after or before February 15th. So congrats. We cannot compete.
All
All right.
right. So
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And have a good one.
thank you.
Yeah.
You too. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.